What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you a Tokyo Ghoul video. I don't know what I'm going to really call this video, because I know it's not really going to be a review or an analysis. It's just mainly going to be me rambling, talking, having a discussion / thoughts on the latest chapter and events of Tokyo Ghoul. So I'll figure out the title. It's a title in progress. I'll figure it out when I'm done, with the video. But I just want to talk. I just want to sit down, chat about the latest chapter, and also just relay some of the thoughts and feelings I have after the recent events. So, as we know, with the latest chapter, chapter 86 of Tokyo Ghoul we got a title drop. The title drop was in our face the entire time. Like, the entire real title of Tokyo Ghoul was in our face, but none of us really noticed completely. But then Ashita-sensei actually revealed it for all of us to see. And by far, out of everything I think I've seen from Tokyo Ghoul, in terms of writing, Ashita, you surprised me with your level of writing to be able to do something like that when it comes to the title drop. That is, you don't see that from normal writers. You just don't. You do not see that at all, especially with how much weight the title has, because it adds so many layers to the series now. Because, I mean, look, the entire point, I guess you could say, of Tokyo Ghoul or Tokyo Ghoul One-Eyed King, has been about finding out who is the One-Eyed King, who will be the next one, so forth. That's kind of been one of the goals of Tokyo Ghoul And with the latest chapter, chapter 86, Kaneki takes the throne. He now will take the throne. We don't know if he will sit down and become the next king, or if he will destroy it. We have no idea what path he will take. We have no idea how good he will be as a king. But the title drop and the way it has been built up since the very beginning of Tokyo Ghoul it's been very fascinating. It was even built up in Tokyo Ghoul Part 1. And there's a couple of things I want to kind of discuss here. For one, as we all know, the main point of, I guess, Tokyo Ghoul now has been CCG, like the viewpoint of CCG and the human side of the story, but also hunting down whoever is the One-Eyed King, or who will become the One-Eyed King. And because of this, since the final, or this latest chapter of Tokyo Ghoul, it revealed Kaneki is going to be the next one, it seems like the overall purpose of Part 2 of Tokyo Ghoul might be kind of over. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying Tokyo Ghoul is going to end anytime soon. I'm saying that there is a likely possibility, since Ashita likes, telling a certain amount of story in a certain time frame. Like, how Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul was on the Ghoul side of things, and then we had a time skip, and then we went over into Part 2, which is Tokyo Ghoul or Tokyo Ghoul One-Eyed King. I could see where Ashita might be ending Tokyo Ghoul rather soon. For instance, Part 2, and then go into a Part 3. Because think about this. Let me look at the core structure of Tokyo Ghoul. For one, it's been following the Fool's Journey. And I've talked about this many times in the past, how Ashita-sensei has been following the Fool's Journey, and he's been redoing the events of the Fool's Journey in his own way, in his own image, when it comes to Tokyo Ghoul. Now, other things, too, that Ashita loves doing as well, he loves adding a lot of symbolism and parallels, and he also likes telling one big picture of certain parts of Tokyo Ghoul. Because look, Tokyo Ghoul Part 1 was mainly focused on the Ghoul side of the story, seeing the Ghoul's perspective of how they live their lives. And then Part 2 of Tokyo Ghoul, besides the One-Eyed King stuff, was to see the CCG side, the human side, and see a different side of Kaneki we never seen before. And that's kind of what Part 1 and Part 2 was about, these different sides. And I've discussed this kind of in the past, that if there ever was going to be a Part 3, it'd most likely focus on the Washus, or V in general, the main villain of the series. I've talked about this in the past. So because of the recent events of Tokyo Ghoul, it seems kind of to be expected that Ashita-sensei might be ending Part 2 of Tokyo Ghoul to kind of journey into the next main part of the story, the next part of the Fool's Journey, but also the next main arc of TG. Because if you factor everything in, Part 2 of Tokyo Ghoul has been one main central arc. It kind of has, if you look at the entirety of it. And now thinking about it like that, it's really interesting when Ashita might end Part 2 very soon to go into a Part 3, which will focus on Kaneki becoming the next One-Eyed King, and also showing how he will lead the world to break out of the birdcage. And I feel like that's kind of what maybe Part 3 could be focused on. Now, getting off of that subject, there's other things I need to talk about too. And I mean, it's been on my mind for a while, and I feel like it really needs to be kind of, talked about. And I mean, it kind of has nothing relative to the, recent chapter, but it's something something I wanted to showcase all of you. Some of you might already be aware of it. I highly doubt I'm the first person to notice it, but I just wanted to talk about it. The parallels that Ishida does is just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, like, you know, his title, Tokyo Ghoul Re, which is actually Tokyo Ghoul King, or Tokyo Ghoul One-Eyed King. These covers, okay? These covers, the symbolism and the parallels in this is just insane. Take a moment to really realize the similarities in this and also the differences. These are both Volume 7, Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul and Part 2 Tokyo Ghoul, okay? These are Volume 7. You instantly see the covers are almost identical in a way. I mean, there's little distinct differences, but I mean, you have it to where there's a red background, Kaneki's on the cover, and then you have white-haired version Kaneki. Now, the differences with these two covers I want to point out is that in the Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul cover, Kaneki has this curly-ish little wavy-looking hair, and he also has a smile, like a very, like, interesting smile on his face. Now, in, you know, Tokyo Ghoul Re cover, you see Kaneki with, like, just a frown. It's kind of like a frown or like a face that just doesn't really show much emotion, and his hair is completely straight. It's not wavy like it is on this cover, and it's really interesting when you take a moment to really look at that. You're like, huh, there's a lot of differences in the design of Kaneki when it can, you know, look at these two volumes, and I feel like there's symbolism here that really needs to be taken noted of. For instance, in this, Kaneki is smiling, but in the smile we see in this cover, it's not a smile that you can necessarily say that is a smile of happiness. Kaneki, as we know, he was twisted after what happened to him with Jason, and you know how he was actually going down this suicidal path. And then in the latest events of Tokyo Ghoul Re, he's kind of found himself. He's found where he wanted to be, and it kind of looks like in this, you know, volume, he's more calm and collective. He's able to now realize his goal, but also it seems like he's at peace because of the straight hair. I mean, I may be looking too far into it, but I mean, look, it looks like, you know, he's unraveled, like he's, you know, he's kind of frizzled up, like he doesn't really know where to take his life at. That's kind of what his hair implies, and I feel like Ishida's trying to mean, but also with the face. And then this too looks like he's calm and he's learned a lot amongst his journey of Tokyo Ghoul. So yeah, it's just something I wanted to bring up. I mean, I know it does have a lot of, you know, points to, you know, I guess the latest chapter or not, but I mean, as we know, Kaneki, he is now found his new path, you know, his reason to live. He is now becoming the symbol for ghouls, you know, the hope that he will continue to live and make the world just where ghouls can actually live a really good life instead of living in the shadows. So talking about that, Kaneki right now, he is at a very critical point in the story, because now he is literally the symbol. He is the symbol of the hope for all ghouls and even some humans. And seeing Kaneki now being able to know how both worlds work. He has lived in both sides of the verse. He has lived in the ghoul side of things. He's lived in the human side. He knows. And I mean, necessarily doesn't look like we needed to know much about the human side of the story, but we did. And many people, I think, might take that for granted, because look, Kaneki may have been human at the start and then turned into a half-ghoul, but he never really understood what it meant to be kind of human after he was already a ghoul. And think about this. He was a ghoul. Well, he was a human that was turned into a ghoul. And then he had to live this experience of being a ghoul, eating human meat, and living this horrid life. And he got to see the perspective of ghouls and what they have to deal with, being hunted down, and also how they're misunderstood. And then when he finally became, I guess, kind of human once again, you know, a part of the CCG, he got to see how it feels to be human after living as a ghoul for a while. And now he kind of understands both sides of the world. He knows now both ends. He knows how the human side is, he knows how the ghoul side is, and now he could possibly take steps to combining both of these worlds to where there can be a coexistence. And Ishida has been building this up for a very long time. He's been trying to build up this coexistence between ghouls and humans since like the beginning of TG. We've seen kind of little examples of it here and there throughout the story, and it seems like finally with Kaneki taking the mantle of the One-Eyed King, he can make steps to actually making the entire world united, and also take down the main person that has caused this hellhole that is the world, which is V/Washu. Okay, so the chapter overall is very, very hype. I mean, it's just absolutely insane to see Kaneki actually becoming what we all wanted him to become. But there's other things that were lost amongst this. For Kaneki to reach this point in his life, to become the next king, some had to give up their life for he could achieve this. And it's sad that Eto and Arima had to become martyrs for Kaneki to become what he is now. And it's very sad when you think about it. I mean, since the very beginning, Eto and Arima have been working together. They've had this plan together to, you know, take down the Washu/V, to be able to destroy this fucked up world and then make a factory reset, and also make it to where the birdcage is completely crushed. This is kind of what they gave their lives for. And in a way, it gives you a happiness, like some form of happiness, knowing that these two characters, they gave up their lives, they laid down their lives for the greater good. And that's what Eto and Arima did. Even though they both realized that they made mistakes. They both know that they weren't completely corrected with all the stuff they did throughout their lives. They know they made a lot of problems and a lot of issues, and they did a lot of damage probably to a lot of people as well. They do have a good heart deep down, and they laid down their lives to really make a better future. And I guess, depending on how you view things, I guess the ends justify the means, in a way. And I mean, I don't completely condone that. I don't say it's actually good what some of the things that Arima did, and also what Eto did, but I mean, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, they did the things they had to do because of the plate they were dealt. They had this hand, and they had to deal with it to be able to achieve their goal. And I love it how the plot twist was revealed, because it was hinted at kind of a couple of times throughout the series of Tokyo Ghoul that Eto and Arima had some form of connection, because, I mean, look, in the fight of Eto versus Arima at the end of Part 1 of Tokyo Ghoul, that fight took place after Kaneki, the entire situation with Kaneki. And in that fight, it seemed like it was more of like a show. It was a play, in a way. And even the chapter title actually kind of demonstrated it might have been a play, because it was like Drama Banquet. I think that's what the chapter title was called when that fight between Eto and Arima was happening. And when you think about all this type of stuff, like, you know, Tatara is saying, like, the king is passing through, which we now know that the king was actually Arima, the one-eyed, you know, king. We now know that it was just all a play. All this time, you had it to where Oguri Tree knew the truth, some of the top members knew the truth, Eto knew the truth, Arima knew the truth, some Zero Squad members knew the truth, and it just really surprises you. You're like, holy shit, this was a play the entire time. And I mean, it makes you wonder, how much did other characters throughout the series know? I mean, Yoshimura, did he know anything about the entirety of the situation between his daughter and Arima? I mean, you have to factor all this stuff in. I mean, he was a part of V, and I guess he worked underneath the Washus at a point, so you just got to think about all this stuff. I mean, how much does some characters know? And there's many questions that are raised, and it stuns you when you know Ishida, this just didn't pop out of nowhere. He just didn't write this and pop it out of his ass and it's like, oh, here it is. It wasn't some form of ass pull. He's been building this stuff up for many, many chapters, for many, many months and years now, and it completely dumbfounds me how a man as Ishida can do such great writing. I feel like this is why I really love Tokyo Ghoul, because I could just sit here and talk about this series, I think, all day long and have fun talking about it. And I don't know how many of you are really going to enjoy this video, to be honest. I know I've rambled quite a bit about random things about the chapter and stuff, but that's how much I love this series. And just to see how much you care and, you know, delicate care Ishida puts into the series, I respect that. I really respect how much Ishida puts into the series, how much effort he does, because not many writers do that. I mean, many writers, when they get big and they get popular, they decide to go the easy route. They're like, okay, I can just pull this out of my ass, write it like this, people accept it because it's a big series. That's kind of how many writers, I'm not saying all writers, but many writers kind of probably think that. They're like, I can get away with it. And then seeing how Ishida, he doesn't let that get to him. He continues on writing what he wants to write, regardless of how controversial it is, and also whatever anybody might think. He does what he wants to do, and he writes what he likes, and he also does this underlying meaning behind so much that you're just amazed when you finally discover it. So one last thing I want to talk about, which was mentioned by fellow Chibits, and I take no credit for this whatsoever. I take no credit at all. It was mentioned, and I would have probably eventually found out, but it was thanks to Chibits I know at this moment, so I'm just going to mention it now. So, the titles of Tokyo Ghoul actually reference cards, playing cards. Look, Tokyo Ghoul Jack of, you know, playing cards. Tokyo Ghoul Joker of playing cards. Tokyo Ghoul King, the king of, you know, different playing cards. If you look at all the titles of Tokyo Ghoul, they reference playing cards. And what's one of the big things about Tokyo Ghoul that Ishida loves doing? He loves using cards. He loves using tarot cards. He loves using different playing cards like diamonds, you know, kings of diamonds. And, you know, even the Tokyo Ghoul cards, like the special limited edition cards that came out, there was things about the cards that foreshadowed events in the future of Tokyo Ghoul. And so Ishida, once again, using his, like, I guess, well-known symbolism when it comes to cards, he used it for the title of Tokyo Ghoul Re. So, I gotta say, well done, Ishida, for once again just displaying your epic writing. And also, well done for the Chibits really taking note of that and realizing what Ishida was going with when it came to the name of Tokyo Ghoul Re. How it meant actually a king, you know, of the playing cards. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this week's chapter of Tokyo Ghoul? How do you feel about the direction of Tokyo Ghoul? I mean, how do you feel about Kaneki becoming the king? How do you feel about everything that has happened to this very point? Do you think Tokyo Ghoul might end very soon and a part 3 is going to happen? Let me honestly know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.